Greetings! If you like these daily crypto analysis videos, hit the like button and subscribe. Please share these videos with your friends to help the channel grow. I'm Crypto Snake, back again to discuss some Bitcoin analysis. So I'm going to start out this video on the one-day chart, and one thing I want to lay out that really concerns me this week is the potential bear flag that's forming and shaping up here, which if not for the manipulation here, I would say has a likeliness of playing out. But what concerns me here obviously is this manipulation dump here, so I'm not positive that this flag is actually going to play out. It may just be negated here. I'm also seeing a lot of bullish patterns forming as well, which I will delve into, which could be simply forming the flag of the bear flag. So on the one-day chart here, you can see that the SAR is still moving down in a very bearish pattern here. The SAR obviously being the indicator of the overall trend. And what's interesting today is that the Kijun-sen and Tenkan-sen have also started to plateau here, moving into this one-day cloud. This normally indicates that it's building support, either before a break or a bounce up. But the price is so heavily disconnected from this Kijun-sen that it normally will attempt to come back to it. That's why I'm still fairly bullish on that. I'm still expecting the price to come back up at least a little bit closer and meet the Kijun-sen on the way down. And if we look at the Chikou span back here, you can see that it is actually within price, which normally indicates some sideways trading, and it does not mean that these TK crossovers mean as much. We're looking for a solid break either up or down on the Chikou span back here. Let me just turn off the volume candles here so you guys can see that a little better. The RSI has also bounced off of the historic support at 36 and is looking up to test the 41 area. So I do believe short term we may actually form this bear flag and move up a little bit. But before I get on with the rest of my technical analysis here, if you'd like to join my free Telegram for insights on the market, including Bitcoin, altcoins, and a sneak peek to my personal entries and exits, join t.me/cryptosnakepit. Links directly to the chat and a link on how to install Telegram, which is a free chat program that I use to communicate with my VIPs, in the description below. Also, I have given out a list of potentially discount altcoins I plan to ride for the bull run, and we have been capitalizing on Bitcoin's movements, pulling 25% gains on 0x, 20% on WON, 7% on Game, and 10% on ADA. If you want information on how to get into the VIP group to be part of these trades, the information is also in the description below. So going down to the 4-hour chart here, we do actually have a potential TK crossover, a bullish TK crossover forming here, with the Chikou span narrowly below the price here. So this bullish movement here actually does also coincide with this bear flag, but it also could negate the bear flag if we break up with enough pressure here to return to that one-day Kijun-sen. As you can see, the SAR, which again measures the overall trend of the coin, is starting to move in a bullish pattern, which is good. And the RSI is still down in the oversold territory around 38, trending between these two resistance and support zones. So it's basically bouncing between here. We're looking for a flush break through the 40 and up to the 45 area here to see a nice pump. Taking a look at Bitcoin shorts today, if we go back to the one-day chart here on the Bitcoin shorts, this is basically a measurement of how many people are betting against the market and shorting Bitcoin and betting that Bitcoin will go down. As you can see here, those bets did hit the all-time high up here before breaking down for a very short squeeze, which we saw in that slight pump. We are starting to come back up. I do believe we are still definitely due for a much bigger short squeeze down to the Kijun-sen here. As you can see, it generally trends very, very close to that, and we are so heavily separated from this. Down here, a straight pullback up to liquidating longs, and then continuing up and likely to break back down, either to settle around the Kijun-sen or break down through again. As for overall health of the market today, we're not looking any more healthy than yesterday. We have been still soaring up on the Bitcoin dominance here. We did actually break into that 56% threshold and broke back down, and we are moving to test that once more. Just to put that in a little bit of perspective here, and again a little bearish perspective here, this is not the first time we have hit this level. Normally we would continue up to about 57. We have struck all the way up to 65% since January, so I could see this trend continuing as well. The global market cap is at 194 billion. It has failed to break that 200 billion mark again. We have a bearish article over on CoinDesk today basically mentioning that we are below 200 billion, and this is the lowest value we've been at since November 2nd, 2017. So since this January pump here, this is actually the lowest amount of money we've had in the crypto space since then. While that is very bearish, it also means that we are starting to get to the end of the market cycle here, so don't get too depressed. Obviously it means that this potential ride down could be over soon, and we could start our next bull run, as the market is very, very cyclical. Onto some more bearish news here. This is basically a report. Nearly half of the ICOs failed to raise funds since the start of 2017. Now obviously this makes sense with the ups and downs that we were seeing on Bitcoin since January. Up, down. If an ICO started on the way down, it failed to get funding. It's happened multiple times through. One thing I do tell my VIPs is you really should avoid investing in ICOs if you want to become rich. I mean, it will work occasionally if you just want to get it in there and hold, but for most of them what happens is as soon as they list, their price dumps about 90% of the value. So the best time to pick up a brand new ICO is as soon as it dumps on the market, and then pick it up there and ride it for the next year or so. But going back to the article, there's been 890 token sales that didn't raise any funds at all, and 743 of those token sales were only able to reach the $1 million mark. I don't think this is the death of ICOs. I think we're going to see all new ICOs coming in the next bull run as well. And just for some perspective here, if you take a look at some of these cryptocurrencies that we see now, I mean, this list is entirely different from what it was in 2017 and again in 2016. A lot of these come and go. Now that's either bad or good depending on what you're invested in, obviously. But this list can change. We will likely see some new ICOs and new growth in the market on the next bull run as well. So on to an interesting, slightly bullish article, and I'll explain why it's slightly bullish. Crypto use is a fringe activity among terrorists, says think tank. This think tank basically established and cited very specific cases where the Mujahideen had basically attempted to gather funding through Bitcoin to raise $2,500 per fighter, and raised only a little over $500 in Bitcoin total. So their argument basically with this is that cryptocurrency isn't great for terrorism funding because a lot of these fighters in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, etc., they're not really equipped well enough with technology to understand how to do this. They also mentioned the success of US regulators to basically curtail these transactions and keep an eye on them because the way blockchain is verified. And the reason I say this article is slightly bullish is it could change the overall public perspective with Bitcoin being this shady terrorism focused practice, and it might also give the government a little bit more credence to support things such as ETFs and overall regulation for cryptocurrency, which could bring in a lot heavier investors as well. So going back to Bitcoin here, just to recap, this bear flag may take us down to the 6,000 level as I have laid out. We may break down through that 6,000 level and pull back to it. It's very historic support, and that would mark the end of this market cycle. We may also test down on this 30 RSI level, which would match up with that 6K level. So normally when we break up on the RSI, we do eventually return back down, as you can see. Up and back down, up, down. Eventually we do return back to that 30. But at the moment we're currently in a very slight uptrend from the sideways trading and Bart Simpsons that I laid out in the previous video. Now obviously my bullish perspective has us returning back to the Kijun-sen up here around the 6740 support and resistance area, and my bearish perspective has us hitting 6,000. This is still a no trade area for me because either play right now is very, very risky as the market has been just full of manipulation lately. So before I wrap this video up, I just want to say good luck on your trades this week. If you make any, please join me in my free Telegram at t.me/cryptosnakepit, where I give up to the minute updates on Bitcoin and my personal exits and entries for the private VIP group. Also included is our private VIP chat, where you can chat with many of our experienced savage traders, get personal technical analysis from me, and answer any questions you might have. This is CryptoSnake, signing off.